Good afternoon, sir. Can you state your name and date of birth, please?
Frank Joseph Fowling, 11/15/1995.
Okay, Mr. Failing, I am appointing the public defender to represent you today, the lawyer standing next to you. You're here on 3 counts of battery on a law enforcement officer, firefighter, EMT, et cetera. I've reviewed the charging affidavit and determined that there is probable cause with respect to the nurses. Can somebody help me out with the security officer and whether or not the statute would cover that? I was a little bit uncertain on that issue. So I have the statute pulled up, and it defines emergency medical care providers to include nurses. So the nurses certainly qualify. And then the other individual is listed as a security guard employed at that address at the hospital. Would that person be covered under the statute? Can anybody help me out with that?
Your Honor, I believe it would cover the statute I'm looking at under 784.072B. This part says licensed security officer who wore a uniform that bore at least one patch or emblem that was visible at all times, that clearly identified the employing agency, and that clearly identified the person as a licensed security officer.
Can you say that number again? 2B, you said?
Yes.
I'm not seeing that. Is that are we sure I'm looking at the right one? 784.07 2B. I have it as reading in case of battery for misdemeanor of the first degree to a felony of the third degree. You can approach if you're looking at a particular. Oh, you have a computer.
Yes.
I mean, it's a little bit semantic, but I just want to make sure that yes, you may approach. Yeah.
So I believe the first one that I was looking at was the annotated, but when I click on here,
Whenever a person is charged.
it starts off like in the middle.
Okay, I see where you are.
Your Honor, I think I may have incomplete information here. Who is the alleged security officer in this
The arrest or the charging affidavit states that on the first page it discusses the names of the nurses, and then it says Reed Mays is a security guard employed at the above address. And my understanding from the affidavit is it was the 2 nurses and that security officer who are the alleged qualified individuals under the statute. The nurses most certainly apply under the definition of emergency medical care provider. And I'm trying to find out if this security officer would also apply. And the state has appointed me to 784.072, which I was reading at the moment.
Yes, Your Honor. And in addition to the statute, a licensed security officer is also a qualifying person under the jury instructions for the same statute.
Because law enforcement officer is defined as any person who is a current member of law enforcement agency's Explorer program and who is becoming, okay, and who is performing functions other than those required to be performed by sworn law enforcement. Defense, anything you want to add to this? I know I'm kind of creating my own problems here, but
I would only add that the affidavit doesn't explicitly say that he was identified as a security officer when going to restrain it. It just states that he went to the room to attempt to restrain the defendant, so I would ask that no probable cause be found with respect to the security officer.
State, here's the language that I'm hung up on, which is 1D, where it defines what a law enforcement officer is. A law enforcement officer, a correctional officer, a correctional probation officer, a part-time law enforcement officer, a part-time correctional officer, an auxiliary law enforcement officer, an auxiliary correctional officer, and any county probation officer, an employee or agent of the Department of Corrections who supervises or provides service to inmates, an officer of the Florida Commission on Offender Review, federal law enforcement officer, and law enforcement personnel of the Fish and Wildlife Commission. So from that, it doesn't appear that the security officer would be considered a law enforcement officer.
Well, Your Honor, I could see under 1D your point, but they charged and arrested him under Section 2B, which does fall under. That's where you'll see the language about a security officer.
Okay. Okay, a person licensed as a security officer is defined in. Okay. Okay, I appreciate you. Help me out. I'm going to find probable cause on all three counts. Thank you for indulging me in that. Officer Jenkins, this defendant qualifies for direct PTR with mental health or?
But mental health acts for, seeking, he get ROR because they gonna Baker Act him. He's gonna be Baker Act.
He's going to be Baker.
Yes.
Your
Okay.
Honor, I would ask that he be ROR because he's gonna be taken, he's gonna be Baker Act and taken directly to Park Place.
State, would you like to be heard on that?
They would not object to him being transported to Park Place.
Okay. So if I order PTR, he cannot be Baker Act? Is that what you're saying? Okay. We have an interesting system, don't we? All right. So no objection from the state to an ROR for purposes of allowing a Baker Act?
Well, the state would be objecting to RR.
Can I bring this?
Yes.
This is some of the stuff that's going on with him. And, I know this morning he had a real bad seizure. So it's a lot, they say, that's going on with him.
Does appear that there's some significant issues that need to be addressed. I don't know that,
I'd also add, Your Honor, that he has 3 other cases that are currently in the middle of competency proceedings. I don't know exactly where they are at the moment, but I know that he has other cases where competency is an issue.
Thank you. State, anything further you want to add?
No, Your Honor.
All right, so I will ROR with the understanding, I'm not ordering it, but from the representations made that there will be a Baker Act, he will be released on his own recognizance. As a condition of release, the defendant is not to return. Oh, no.
Oh, he probably having another seizure.
Yeah. Yeah. He's been ROR'd, so they can take whatever necessary actions they need to at this point to protect him.
from what you can see, Your Honor, but he's currently being evaluated by the staff here.
Sure, understood. Take all the time you need, obviously. We'll go off the record. Maybe I should stay on.
No, he was in the hospital, he had seizures. Yeah, he had seizures when he was in the hospital, and then he had one this morning. When we spoke to him this morning,
So they have seizures, man. They are like knocked out.
my nephew, he had a real bad, he'd be out.
Yeah, like light.
Oh, I got him in a chair, that's good.